Namaste, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Welcome to yet another session of Weekend with Wisdom. This is Nitin Sridhar. Let me begin with a prayer. Agajanana Padmarkam Gajananam Arnisham Anekadanta Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahe Vakratunda Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Ishvaro Guru Ratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavatrapta Dehaya Shri Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Once again, a warm welcome to everyone. Today we have with us Shri Gokulmuthu Narayanaswamy ji joining us from Bengaluru. Thank you, Gokulmuthu ji, for making time for the session. We are very glad to have you again on our platform. You have been a great supporter for our initiatives and have always agreed for our sessions. So we are very happy to have you back on our Weekend with Wisdom. Today, Gokulmuthu ji will be speaking on a very interesting topic, the goal and the journey according to Bhagavad Gita. Before he begins, let me just give a brief introduction. Gokulmuthu Narayanaswamy ji is a devotee and volunteer of Ramakrishna Matha. He studied Vedanta from Swami Paramarthanandaji of Arshavidya Gurukulam and Swami Paramasukhanandaji from Ramakrishna Matha. He is a software engineer by profession and currently director at ITRON India in Bengaluru. He is passionate about Bhagavad Gita, Swami Vivekananda and Vedanta. He gives regular talks on these topics to children, youth and professionals. He mentors Vivekananda Study Circle at Indian Institute of Science and Vivekananda Yuvaka Sangha at Ramakrishna Matha, Halasuru. He has designed an 18-hour course on Introduction to Bhagavad Gita that has been run more than 15 batches. He continues to listen, read and learn from various teachers. And he has a blog called practicalphilosophy.in. You can find several of his writings, etc. There. Thank you again, Gokulmuthu ji, for making time for the session. Viewers, if you have any questions, please put it in chat box. Sorry, not in the chat box, but in the Q&A box. And last 10 minutes, Gokulmuthu ji will try to answer some of them. Gokulmuthu ji, please go ahead and start the session.
Om Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Prapanna Parijataya Totra Vetraika Panaye Jnāna Mudraya Krishnaya Gitamrita Duhe Namaha Hari Om. Dear devotees, it's really happy occasion for me to get back to you again on yet another perspective of Bhagavad Gita, the goal and the journey. So in the next 1.5 hours, we will spend trying to understand what is the goal that Gita promises, that Gita puts before us, and what is not the goal also, and also what is the journey and what is a path and that is delineated by the Gita, and what happens along the journey, how can we calibrate ourselves to know where we are, and so that we can efficiently move towards the goal. So now if you look at the Gita, the first sloka where the Gita teaching starts is the second chapter, 11th shloka, right? Where Krishna says, Na anushochanti panditaha. The wise man does not have any sorrow. And the last shloka where the Gita teaching ends is the 18th chapter, 66th shloka, where he says, Ma suchaha, don't worry. So the first shloka also says freedom from worry. The last shloka also says freedom from worry. So this is the gist of the entire Gita. Gita shows us a way to lead a life completely free from all sorrow. Okay. And what is the way? It says Panditaha. So wisdom is the way. Now, a summary of the entire Gita is Na Anushochanti Panditaha. Freedom from all sorrow through the right understanding of who am I and what is the purpose of life. This is all that Gita is about. And we will see how this whole thing unravels, and we will unwind the details as we go on. So here is a shloka which gives slightly more details about the goal. And this is a part of the Prajna Lakshana. It says, Vihaya kāman yas sarvan pumams charati nisprihaha nirmamo nirahankaraha sa shāntim adhigacchati. So basically it describes the person who has reached the goal. The goal of the Gita is Jivanmukti. We want to attain moksha here and now in this birth itself. So Jivanmukti is the goal. Of course, there are some shlokas in the Gita which talk about what happens after, like, the Shukla Gati, Krishna Gati, and all those kind of things. But those are more of, side topics. And in fact, the entire 8th chapter where these topics come is more as an answer to Arjuna's question. So that is not actually the part of the main flow of the Gita. So even though those are there according to the Upanishads, according to the Vedas, but Gita's goal is always Jivanmukti. Here and now. Freedom here and now. In fact, in one of the talks, I remember Swami Paramarthananji, he says, if you define the goal as freedom from rebirth, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, right? Like, so if you define goal as freedom from rebirth, then you are negating even this birth also. And so that is a very negative attitude towards life itself. So Paramarthanji says, like, yes, that is a definition which is there, but that is not the primary definition of Jivanmukti or the goal or moksha. The primary definition of Jivanmukti is freedom from all sorrow and its various forms while living here and now. Jivanmukti is the goal. Now, there are several shlokas in the Gita which describe the Jivanmukta. Now, in the 2nd chapter, we have Sthita Prajna Lakshana. In the 12th chapter, we have Parabhakta Lakshana. In the 14th chapter, we have Gunatita Lakshana. And so like this, several chapters, like even 16th chapter, we have the Daivi Sampat. And in the 13th chapter, we have Jnāna Lakshana. So like this, we have several chapters. The description of the Jivanmukta is given very clearly. And everywhere, the theme is the same. He is peaceful in spite of the ups and downs of life, right? That is the core. And how is he peaceful in spite of the ups and downs of life? There are several shlokas which talk about that. And this is one of the shlokas which give the details. It says, Vihaya kāman yaha sarvan. So, yaha, that person, sarvan kāman vihaya. He is free from all desires, right? And then we'll come to this later. Then, nirmamaha. He doesn't have the mindness or mamakara, possessiveness. Nirahankaraha. He doesn't have pride, ego, those things. And what does he do free from all these things? Puman, that person, charati, he moves around, nisprihaha, without getting attached. So after this Jivanmukti, he doesn't go and settle in a cave and, cut off from society and all that. No. Charati. He goes around doing his duties, helping people. Like, like they say in the Buddhist, they say, right, before enlightenment, fetch water, cut wood. After enlightenment, fetch water, cut wood. So basically, life goes on as usual, but nisprihaha, he is not attached. That is the difference. And what does he get? Saha shantim adhigacchati. He attains peace. So this is the crux of the whole thing, how this whole thing comes about. So basically, there are threefold bondages. Samsara, which is bondage, has three dimensions: possession, pleasure, and pride. Paramathanji calls it as 3 Ps. Okay. So dependence upon the world for security by the sense of mind, that is, we have this mamakara, which is basically depending upon possessions for our happiness. Second thing is dependence upon the world for pleasure in the form of desires, right? Kāma. So dependence upon pleasure in the world, and then dependence upon the world for self-worth in the form of name, fame, recognition, all these things, which is pride, the third P. So if you don't depend upon this world on these 3 Ps, then you get peace of mind, right? It's a play of words, and thanks to Paramathanji for so many such beautiful quirks that he has. So free from these, depending upon this world for these three, you attain peace. Now that such a person is the Jivanmukta. He is free while living, and he moves about and spreading peace around and helping others and doing his dharma, everything. So this is moksha. And how is this got? By jnana, by wisdom, right? So the Vedanta is very clear. Jnanat eva kaivalyam, right? So it is by knowledge alone that moksha is got. And finally, we realize that jnanam eva kaivalyam. The knowledge itself is moksha, right? That is why we say brahmavit brahmaiva bhavati, right? Atmavit tarati shokam. So all those Upanishadic statements basically point to that this knowledge is what is moksha. Why? Because we are already free. We are already free. Our real identity is pure consciousness. Even now, like, just you sit back and then you see, like, what do you see in this world, right? This entire world is nothing but a huge movie. You can say a 5D movie, right? You have the 5 senses, right? Your sight, sound, touch, taste, smell. A 5D movie running in your consciousness, and you are just witnessing it. So this whole universe is basically a movie which runs in your consciousness. And just like in a movie, you cannot affect the movie and you will not get affected by the movie, right? So that is what is nisprihaha, right? So you realize that this movie is running and you give whatever name to it, Mahamaya, Prakriti, right? So whatever name, like, so we have the shloka in the Gita, Prakriti he kriyamanani, right? So it is just by Prakriti that everything happens. And ahankara vimudatma karta aham iti manyate. So the person with the vimuda, the deluded person, the person who is deluded by avidya, ahankara, and who is egoistic, who is self-centered, ahankara vimudatma karta aham iti manyate, right? He thinks I am the doer. He thinks that I am experiencing this world and I am expressing myself in this world. I affect the world and then the world affects me. That's what he thinks. And that is the delusion. That is avidya. The truth is that I, as the consciousness, I am just a pure witness of this entire drama this entire movie, which is projected in front of me into my consciousness by Mahamaya. So that is all that it is. And so I am not affected by this movie, right? Now, this knowledge of who am I, the correct answer to the question, who am I, is I am the pure consciousness, which cannot be affected by anything in this universe, right? Anything that happens in this movie will not touch me, right? You have this, many of you might have seen the movie 2012, right? Where there is flood, there is earthquake, there is volcano, there is storm, everything is there, right? But then the earthquake in the movie does not tear the screen, and the volcano in the movie does not burn the screen, the flood in the movie does not wet the screen, and the storm in the movie does not blow away the screen. The screen is unaffected by any of these panchabhutas. And that is exactly in line with the shloka in the Gita, right? Where the Atman, the pure consciousness, cannot be cut by weapons, cannot be dried by the wind, cannot be burnt by fire, and cannot be wet by water, right? So I am the screen and I am the pure consciousness onto which this entire movie is projected. And by avidya, by mistake, I identify myself with different characters in this movie, and I get deluded. I think I am doing things, I think I'm experiencing things. And so when I take this as reality, then I am pushed into all kinds of sorrow and everything, right? So, and this identification is not uncommon. Like, say, for example, if I'm driving a car and if I'm running out of gas, like I'm telling you, right? Like I'm running out of gas. So I drive the car and I say, I'm running out of gas. But am I running out of gas? No, the car is running out of gas. But I identify myself with the car. And when I say I mean the car. Or when I'm driving and if some auto guy or scooter guy comes and hits, I say, oh, I got hit by an auto or I got hit by a scooter. Like when I say I mean the car. And similarly, when I say I'm hungry, right, I mean this body. When I say I'm angry, I mean this emotion, this mind. When I say I don't understand, I mean the intellect. So I keep, like moving here and there. My eye keeps shifting. The only problem is we get stuck with a wrong eye, and then we suffer. Now, it is okay to keep identifying ourselves with various things like car or body or mind based on the situation, but then we should not carry it beyond where it is applicable. When I'm alone in my room, when there is no context, where I don't need to identify with anything, I should be able to go back to my green room and say, I am pure consciousness, right? Now, this ability to do that will come by the right understanding of who am I. And a Jivanmukta is a person who has got access to this green room, right? So in the Dakshinamurti Stotram, it says Prabodha Samaye, right? So during when there is nothing, no context outside which needs my attention, I should be able to retire back into my green room and then say, I am what I am. I am that I am, right? I am just pure consciousness. So if I'm able to do this, then I am free. I am a Jivanmukta. When needed, I can identify myself with my car or with my body or with my country, with my family, with my job, whatever needed. And I can do, or in fact, actually, things will get done, right? And things will just go on, right? So this is the state of a Jivan Mukta. And we will, as we go, we will unravel more and more. So what does the Gita promise and what does the Gita does not promise? The Jivan Mukta, as I told you, there are so many sections in the Gita in different chapters where there is very, very detailed description of the Jivanmukta. And if you look at that, it does not promise a healthy body. Just because you are a Jivanmukta does not mean you will be healthy, does not mean you will live long, right? And in fact, the 13th chapter, it says Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi Dukkha Dosha Anudarshanam, right? So the Janma, birth, Mrityu, death, Jara, old age, Vyadhi, disease, Dukkha Dosha Anudarshanam, right? So you will see that all these things are there and you will see it clearly. So which means even the Jivanmukta will have disease, he will have old age, he will have death. So the body, or rather the Jivanmukta's body also will have all these things. So Gita does not promise any of these things. And Gita does not guarantee you will make a lot of money, because when describing the Parabhakta Lakshana, right, and even in other places, it says Labha, Labho, right, Jaya, Jayo. So Labha and Alabha, gain and loss, will happen to the Jivanmukta also. And Jaya and Ajaya, success and failure, will happen to the Jivanmukta. So Gita does not guarantee that, okay, if you become a Jivanmukta, then life will be always success, it will be a bed of roses. No, right? So there is no guarantee. And no promise of name and fame. In fact, it says Tulya Ninda Stutir Mauni, right? Tulya means equal, Ninda and Stuti, right? So both Ninda will come, which means people will scold you, and people will praise you also, right? Tulya, Ninda, Stuti. Stuti also will come, Ninda also will come. So, but for the Jivanmukta, he treats them equally. Tulya. Tulya means equally, right? But all these things will happen in the real life, right? And this is another thing which is very significant. There is absolutely no mention of any miraculous powers anywhere in the Gita. The Gita has so much of description about the Jivanmukta, and nowhere it says the Jivanmukta will have any miraculous powers. All these anima, garima, mahima, right, lahima, all those things, like, clairvoyance, reading others' mind, like all those things, none of them are mentioned anywhere in the Gita. And it is very significant that there is no mention of any of these things, right? So no mention of any miraculous powers anywhere in the Gita. So Gita does not guarantee that a Jivanmukta will have any of these things. And so to sum it up all, Gita does not promise a life free from problems. It says Shitoshna, Sukha Dukkeshu, Labha, Labho, Jaya, Jayo, right? So you will have Shita, Ushna, heat and cold, right? And you will have Sukha, Dukkha, pleasure and pain. And as I told you, Labha, Alabha, right? Gain, loss, and you will have success, Jaya, Ajaya. So like this, all Dvandva, all the dualities of life will continue to be there. So Gita does not promise any freedom from any of these problems. Life will have problems. That is natural for life. The nature of life is to have dualities, ups and downs, everything will be there. But what Gita promises is peace. Like so many places, Gita says, Saha Shanti Madhigachati, right? So peace you will have. In the amidst of all the ups and downs of life, what is guaranteed by the Gita is peace, Shanti, right? This Shanti you will have, and with this Shanti, you will be able to face life with a lot of resilience, with a lot of enthusiasm, right? Without getting bogged down by the situation. That is what Gita promises. And then Gita also promises that you will be able to stand against the temptations of the senses and the mind, right? So whatever happens, like, maybe the doctor says your body is diabetic, but then there is rasgulla there, looks nice, there is a temptation. Earlier, probably you were not able to withstand the temptation. And as you grow spiritually, as you mature spiritually, you will be able to withstand such temptations. Now, that Gita guarantees, right? So it says, right, Sanniyam Yendriya Gramam, Sanniyam Ya Indriya Gramam, right? And for the previous one, like ups and downs of life, it says, right, Sanniyam Yendriya Gramam, Samadrishti on all the ups and downs of life, right? So then Gita guarantees that the 6 defects, shatripu, it is called, you will have less of that, right? So this is a standard template. There are 6 defects of the mind: kāma, krodha, lobha, moha, matha, mātsarya, right? So kāma is desire, krodha is anger, lobha is greed, moha is nitya, anitya, moha. So the confusion between what is permanent, what is transient, basically like misplaced priorities, that is moha. And then matha, arrogance, and mātsarya, jealousy. Now you will be free from these. Free in the sense it will reduce, right? All these 6 will come down. And Paramarthanji again puts it in a very beautiful way. He says they will reduce on 3 dimensions: frequency, intensity, and recovery time. FIR reduction, Swamiji says. So suppose, let us say, like you have a short temper initially. As you do spiritual sadhana, as you progress in spiritual life, your anger will come down. So if earlier you run into bouts of anger multiple times in a day, it might become maybe once a day, then maybe it might reduce to once a week, then it might reduce still to once a month. It will keep on reducing. The frequency will slowly come down. And the intensity also will come down. Initially, say, when you get angry, if you keep throwing things around and creating a lot of noise and, jumping around and all that, the intensity will come down slowly. It might become only verbal. You might be using just unparliamentary words. And then as you progress still further, it will still come down, and there will be no physical or verbal expression. It might just be a mental expression, right? You might be very upset. So slowly the intensity will come down, down, down as you progress in spiritual life. And the recovery time also will come down. So initially, if you keep holding on to your grudges for a long time, slowly as time goes on, it will keep coming down. So in the scriptures, it is said, of the jivanmukta, of the jnani, any of these 6 defects, they appear and disappear like a drop of water on a red hot iron plate. Suppose if you have a red hot iron plate, or even a fully hot dosa tawa, right? If you sprinkle one drop of water on it, one sound will come and then it will just evaporate and go away. So to that extent, all these things will come down. So in fact, one of the definitions of moksha, in fact, I would say the correct definition of moksha is freedom from these 6 defects. Moksha means freedom. Freedom from what? Freedom from kāma, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, mātsarya. That is what is moksha. Now, once you are free from these, now life is not a problem at all, right? In fact, life is a problem only when you have all these things. When you don't have these 6, then life is not a problem, right? So when you don't have these things, you will have vairagya, right? So jnana, bhakti, vairagya, everything will be there, and your life will be very peaceful. And you are no longer in samsara, even though you are living still. So that is jivanmukti. So jivanmukti is nothing but freedom from these. We will see as we go along, right, how the progress happens. So now we'll take a small detour to a quotation of Swami Vivekananda. So this Atma Jnanam, who am I? The answer to who am I that is what is going to give moksha. And I already told you, who am I? I am pure consciousness. I am the witness. Right? And so Swamiji says, like, sense happiness is not the goal of humanity. Wisdom, jnana, is the goal of all life. We find that, and he gives why. How do you say that? We find that man enjoys his intellect more than an animal enjoys its senses. And we see that man enjoys his spiritual nature even more than his rational nature. So, the highest wisdom must be in the spiritual knowledge. And with this knowledge will come bliss, right? So, in the 6th chapter, Gita says, right, like, atindriya sukham, right? It says you get the tangible this thing, pleasure, but which is not dependent upon any sense objects, right? So that is the joy, the bliss of knowledge, which actually transcends, is much more than any other joy which can come from the senses or even the intellect, right? Now, that bliss is our real nature, and that we get access to that Atmananda by spiritual knowledge. And what knowledge? What is this knowledge? Man is not only a gross material body, not only that within this there is the finer body, the mind, but there is something yet greater. For the body changes, so does the mind. Something beyond the Atman, which has neither beginning nor end, which knows not what death is, right? So anything that changes cannot be I, because I am the witness to the change. I see that this body changes. I see that this mind changes. My papa, punya, samskara, everything keeps changing. So none of these can be I. I am that constant background, the pure, unchanging, pure consciousness, Satchitananda, existence, consciousness, bliss, against which all these changes keep happening, right? So I am the screen on which this entire movie is being played, and I am that Atman. Now, this knowledge, right, is the highest knowledge, and that knowledge is what makes us free. So there are a lot of places where Swamiji explains all these things, and just to give you a taste of what Vivekananda's words look like. So now, what is the journey? How do you reach there, right? Now, according to Gita, there are again several shlokas in the Gita where the entire journey is mapped out, right? So here is one of them. This is in the 5th chapter. Yoga yukto vishuddhatma vichitatma jitendriyaha sarva bhutatma bhutatma kurvanapina lipyate. Right? So yoga yukto vishuddhatma. So here yoga means karma yoga. So by karma yoga, what do you get? You get vishuddhatma, purity of mind. So purity of mind in our scriptures always means free from ragadvesha. Ragadvesha, that is strong likes and dislikes, are the contamination or impurity of the mind. So vishuddhatma means freedom from strong likes and dislikes. Now that is attained by karma yoga, right? Then vijitatma jitendriyaha. So here vijitatma, here atma means mind, right? So shama is vijitatma, jitendriyaha is dhamma. So by control over the mind, you get mastery over the senses, right? So the first one was karma yoga. So this one is dhyāna yoga, meditation, right? Vijitatma jitendriyaha. So by meditation, you get control over the mind, and by that you get control over your senses. And then sarva bhutatma bhutatma means seeing oneself in all living beings. So basically, you see the identity of yourself with all the living beings. Sarva bhutatma bhutatma. This is got by knowledge, because it's something which is already there. There is nothing to be gained here. It is just only to be known. So it is Jnāna Yoga. So Jnāna Yoga gives Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma. So when a person has attained these, what happens? Kurvannapina lipyate. Even if he works, it does not taint him, right? The same thing we saw, right? Pumams charati nisprihaha. Nisprihaha is same as na lipyate, right? Meaning is the same. Kurvan is same as charati, right? So the same meaning comes here, right? So kurvanapina lipyate. He moves around, but without getting attached to anything. So this is only a sample. There are so many such shlokas where the entire path is clearly put out, right? So, so basically, and this also you can correlate to the 3 P's that we had seen earlier, right? We saw that the moksha is getting free from dependence on this world for security, pleasure, and pride, right? So we saw possession, pleasure, and pride. We saw 3 P's. And again, you can see that karma yoga is basically becomes like you become free from depending on this world for security, right? And how do you know that you have progressed in karma yoga? So you have sarvatra samabuddhi, right? The 12th chapter, it says sarvatra samabuddhi, 3rd shloka, right? And then how do you know that your dhyana yoga is working? Sanniyamya indriya gramam, right? So you get control over your mind and the sense organs. By meditation, you get free from seeking pleasure in this world, because meditation will give you first-hand information, first-hand experience that you can create your own pleasure in your mind. You don't need to depend upon this world for pleasure. So meditation will clearly show you that. So then by that, it's of course one of the purposes where you can be free from seeking pleasure in this world or depending upon this world for pleasure. So karma yoga will free you from depending upon this world for security, and dhyana yoga will free you from depending upon this world for pleasure. And jnana yoga will remove your false idea of limited individual identity, right? So the problem is your false idea of limited individual identity. You are in reality pure consciousness. You are universal, eternal. You are the substratum. You are the screen on which this entire tamasha is happening. So Jnana Yoga, the right understanding, the right knowledge, gives you your true identity, and you know that I am not any of this limited identity. I am pure consciousness. So when you have these, then you can move around in this world without getting affected by the work, right? So in fact, even the Dhyana shloka which I chanted in the beginning, right? Prapanna parijataya totra vetraika panaye jnana mudraya krishnaya Gītāmrita duhe namaha. So that's a Dhyana shloka composed by Madhusudana Saraswati. So when he wrote Gudartha Deepika, he collected and he composed 9 Dhyana shlokas, and one of them is that which covers the entire all these, right? Like Prapanna Parijataya. So the Lord is the Karma Phaladata, and that way he is the Parijata, and the devotees acknowledge it. So that is Karma Yoga. Prapanna Parijataya indicates Karma Yoga. Totra Vetraika Panaye, where the Lord is holding the stick, which is used to control the cows. So the senses are the cows. And by meditating upon the Lord, we give the stick in the Lord's hand and say, "Oh Lord, you control my senses." So that is Totra Vetraika Panaye. Then Jnana Mudraya. So Jnana Mudra is this. So where now this finger is the ego, and these 3 are the Stula Sukshma Karna Shariras. Normally you identify with them. So you disidentify with them, and then you identify with pure consciousness. The thumb is indication of pure consciousness. So you say, I am not the Sthula Sukshma Karna Shariras, I am the pure consciousness. So that is Jnana Mudra. So Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya. So the Krishna who holds the Jnana Mudra, right? So that is Jnana Yoga and Gita Amrita Duhe Namaha. So when you follow all that, then you get Amrita, right? Amrita is basically you are not affected by anything which happens in life. So na lipyate is same thing as Amrita, and Gita is the one which gives you this, and Krishna is the one who gives the Gita. So that is why we say Gita Amrita Duhe Namaha. So the Dhyana Shloka also covers the same uh, 4 yogas or 3 yogas. Bhakti Yoga is mixed everywhere, right? So Bhakti Yoga runs through all the yogas. So you do by offering all actions to the Lord, you do Bhakti Yoga Sahita Karma Yoga. By meditating upon the Lord, you do Bhakti Yoga Sahita Dhyāna Yoga. And by knowing through the Lord, you do Bhakti Yoga Sahita Jnana Yoga, right? So Bhakti Yoga is a common thread which runs through the whole thing. But the 3 yogas are Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Jnana Yoga. These get repeatedly in Gita in multiple places. You will find this 3. So this is the basic teaching of the Gita, right? This is the journey. And what happens as you go along? So here is a picture which I wanted to draw for a long time, and I was able to put it together recently. So I will explain it to you. Okay. So the green line is Jnana Yoga, or actually these are all outcomes. Okay. Now the green line is your knowledge, how your knowledge goes. This is time. The x-axis is the time, and the y-axis is percentage accomplishment. So initially your understanding is 0, and then it goes. Okay. Now the yellow line, that is non-dependence on the world for pleasure, right? So basically that is your vairagya, you can say. Vairagya from sense pleasure. Okay. So basically how much are you still depending upon sense pleasure? That is this one. The red line, that is non-dependence for security. Your attachment to wealth and security, those things. So red is attachment to wealth, that is possession. The yellow is attachment to pleasure, and the green is, you can say, pride, or you can say your negative of that, right? So the red one is freedom from wealth, freedom from possession. Yellow is freedom from pleasure seeking in the world, or freedom from dependence on this world for pleasure. And green is knowledge. So what happens? So initially, you have not come to the scriptures, you have not come to the tradition, but then you try to lead a good life, right? So you read a lot of self-help books, you try to improve yourself, you try to lead a moral life, you try to lead a disciplined life. So this one is moral life, and this one is disciplined life, right? You try to read some books and try to get some knowledge. So you have that thirst to become a better person. That is a basic thing needed. The thirst to become a better person, you already have, right? So you have that here. And then after some time, whatever punya which you gained by doing good works and all, following discipline, everything, that brings you to a guru, that brings you to a teacher, and the teacher starts teaching you the scriptures, Gita or Tattvabodha or Upanishads, whatever. And you reach a place where you have the knowledge of Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara according to the Shastras. The Shastra Jnanam of Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara you get. This is halfway through the Shravanam process. Shravanam means listening. Mananam means clearing the doubts. Nididhyasanam means putting it into practice. Okay. So in Shravanam, you get Jnanam. And in mananam, you get nissamshaya jnanam, undoubted knowledge. And in nididhyasanam, that knowledge starts reflecting in your behavior and attitude, right? So Paramarthanji defines nididhyasanam as conversion of intellectual conviction into emotional strength. That is the definition for nididhyasanam. So your intellectual conviction happens by mananam. Now converting that into emotional strength is done by nididhyasanam, which happens in this phase. So these are the three phases of spiritual life. So now one thing you need to see is it is not a smooth curve. It keeps going up and down. So in spite of your knowledge, in spite of understanding the scriptures, in spite of reading the scriptures, still you will have temptations, and sometimes you will slip also. You might make mistakes. It's okay. But overall, the trend will be upward. But if you look at in the short term, yes, you will make mistakes. Don't worry. Get up and keep going. Get up and keep going. Every time you fall, get up and keep going. That is how you go, right? Now, at one point of time, you have heard about everything. Now you have clear understanding of what the Shastra talks about Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, which we will see in the next few slides. And then after that, the Guru will introduce you into Advaita Jnanam, where you gain the knowledge that everything is one. There is pure consciousness only, which manifests as Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara. So when that knowledge you get, and when you have read, you have understood all that the Shastras tell, you have kind of your Shravanam is over. Now, because of this, your attachment to wealth will come down. So your independence your independence will increase. Okay, so you'll become more and more independent of the world for your security, right? So you will not be affected by the ups and downs of life, and that is what this shows. So as you keep going, you will not be affected by ups and downs of life. And and this one, you will also become more independent of the senses. You will not fall to temptations of the senses, right? So that also will keep going. But still, there will always be ups and downs, but then you keep going. Now, once Shravanam is over, yes, you have heard everything. But if someone asks you, what does the Gita say? You'll be able to say, this is what the Gita says. But if I ask you, do you accept it? You will say, no, I know this is what the Gita says, but I have some doubts. So you have not fully accepted it. You have still questions. You see some logical gaps which you have not filled it yet. So though superficially you know what the Shastra says, but intellectual conviction is still not there. So that is done by Manana phase, where the doubt clearing phase. So if you see here, knowledge does not go up much. It's almost the same. It is just you have a doubt gets cleared, another doubt gets cleared, another doubt. So you just basically as you keep thinking more and more about it, you become less faithful, and then the Guru clears the doubt, he fills the logical gap, then you understand it, and then maybe someone else comes and talks to you and gives some counter argument, you again starts doubting it, then again you dig deeper, then you find the answer to it, you find, yes, no, this is what is right. So it keeps going on, right? And all along, you also keep doing your sadhana, right? And so at this point, pretty much you are able to face the ups and downs of life easily, but then still getting the senses under control is still a uphill task. That is a much more tougher journey, right? So here you're kind of there, around 70%, right? But then still here you are struggling. So this is where, like, you do japa, you do your sadhana, you do everything as your guru, all the upasana and everything you do as your guru has taught, and slowly, like, this goes up, right? And as you keep progressing in your, this is basically karma yoga. You do karma yoga to get up here, and you do dhyana yoga, meditation or upasana, right, to go up here. As you keep going, and as you also keep listening to scriptures, listening to talks, then what happens? Suddenly you understand the whole thing. There is an aha moment where suddenly, like, you reach here. So far you were, when you read I am pure consciousness, now you never understood the meaning of the word consciousness. Suddenly now you know the meaning of the word consciousness, because ultimately the whole thing, the Advaita Jnanam, is nothing but understanding the correct meaning of the word consciousness. That's all. If you know the meaning of the word consciousness, you are already here, right? So consciousness with a capital C, right? Chaitanya, right? So this happens as a sudden moment, right? You have an aha moment where suddenly, like, now you understand everything clearly. So far, whatever you were taking as second-hand knowledge, suddenly you realize that, yes, it is your first-hand knowledge, and there is no going back now. You know for sure this is the truth. There is absolutely no doubt about the truth at all. You know for sure. Like, so now, once you hit there, then there is also a sudden jump, but still you are not there yet. There is a jump, and still you have to continue to do your sadhana. And now it is nididhyasana. So the moment you reach this point, then onwards, it is called nididhyasana, right? So your shravanam and mananam is over. So now nididhyasanam starts. So you continue to do your japa, your meditation, your karma yoga. You do all that, shastra shravana. You continue that also. And then now there is nothing more to be gained. So this kind of is steady. It just that, like, your habits should change now. So slowly your, right, like, your dependence on the world for security and dependence on the world for pleasure come down, and you start going, reaching there. It keeps going, and asymptotically it keeps going. Then at one point of time, now this happens without you realizing it. This is, you will know these points, you will know for clear, yes, there is a marked point, and this happens just naturally without you realizing it at all. And you reach a point where, like, these have almost gone down, so your independence is almost 100%, and that is the point where it is jivanmukti. So after that, like pretty much not much temptations, not much, falling for this or that. So that is the jivanmukti. That is the goal we are aiming for. So this is how the whole thing works. Okay. And yeah, many of you might be here, many of you might be here, many of you might be here. And like, among spiritual aspirants, being in this phase is very, very common, right? And and being in this phase is also very common, right? And whether you are here or here, you will only know. You will know for sure. So when you read a book like Ashtavakra Samhita or Avadhuta Gita, right? If your response is, oh, is it so? Then it means you are here. Whereas if your response is, yeah, it is right, the book says correct, what the book says is correct, then it means you are here. If you are here, you will actually certify what is mentioned in the book. Whereas if you are here, what the book says will be information for you. Right? That is the difference between here and here. Right? So this is the map. This is what will happen as you progress, and you only can judge it for yourself. You cannot judge others, right? But pretty much once you have crossed this point, when someone talks, you will know whether they are here or here. You can, because once you have crossed this, once you have this knowledge, and when someone talks about pure consciousness, when someone talks about Advaita, you can easily figure out whether the person is in this phase or the person really is in this phase. So that you can figure it out easily. How, you don't know, but intuitively you know whether the person is here or here. But for a person who is here, like, he cannot figure out whether the other person is here or here, right? So, but then even when a person is here, you should not relax, because still these two are down. You are not a jivanmukta yet. You might be a jnani, right? This point means you are a jnani, but you are not a jivanmukta. So from jnanam to jivanmukti, you have to continue your sadhana, you have to continue your karma yoga, dhyana yoga, shastra shravana, everything you have to continue so that you finally reach here, and this is the goal. And this is again what you call, lot of people mistake this to be the goal, and they suffer a lot in the sense, or rather, like, their body suffers a lot, because as per the Shastra, the moment you reach here, Videha Mukti is assured. But when you reach here, then Jivanmukti also is there. So rest of the life you can lead peacefully. Because during this phase, again, your life is still has ups and downs, right? Worries, everything is there, right? So you are not the Jivanmukta yet. Because the Jivanmukta has no sorrow, right? Whereas this phase, you still have sorrow, you still have anger, jealousy, lust, ego, greed, everything is there. But it keeps going less and less. So you have to do sadhana here for it to come here, right? So there's a beautiful talk by Paramarthananji called Knowledge and Emotional Problems, which basically focuses on this phase of spiritual life. The audio is available, the transcripts are available. It is called Knowledge and Emotional Problems. So you can refer to Paramarthananji's talk on that. Yeah, so I hope this is useful, and because this was something which I was looking for it and I couldn't find anywhere. So finally, I thought I will only draw it, and did it recently. Anyway, good. So now, so the whole question is, who am I, right? Who am I is the question. So Vedanta gives the idea of Panchakosha. Many of you who are students of Vedanta would already know it. So there are 5 layers, right? So now these 5 layers are identified so that you can become free from them. This is all anatma that you should remember. The objective or the purpose of studying Panchakosha is so that you can identify them and you can reject them as anatma. That is the purpose. Okay. So Panchakosha, 5 layers. What are they? Annamaya Kosha, the physical layer, right? So the easy way to understand this I learned from Nagendra ji, right? Who is a founder, or who is of S. Vyasa in Bangalore. Many of you know him as a yoga teacher. So he explained about 30 years back beautifully, which I listened. And so Annamaya Kosha, how do you identify what is common to a dead body and a living body? That is Annamaya Kosha, right? So the dead body, whatever the dead body has, that is Annamaya Kosha. So what does it have? It has height, weight, place of birth, name of parents, complexion. So all these things are properties of the Annamaya Kosha. Pranamaya Kosha, how do you understand? Suppose, let us say there is a body in coma. So for a body in coma, the lungs are breathing, the heart is beating, right? The kidney is separating urine. Everything is happening. The body is alive, but the person is not aware, right? So what is extra in a body in coma, which is not in a dead body? That is pranamaya kosha. Okay. So you have temperature, pulse rate, blood pressure, sugar level, allergies. So all these things are properties of the pranamaya kosha. Now, manomaya kosha is suppose there is a mad person. What is extra in the mad person compared to the person who is in a coma? Or maybe you can even take an animal, right? Suppose if there's an animal. Now, what is there in an animal extra compared to, like, let us say an animal in a coma? That is manomaya kosha, like your anger, jealousy, arrogance, desire, greed, fear, basically likes and dislikes, right? What kind of food you like, what kind of places, your hobbies, movies, books. So all likes and dislikes come under this, and even skills and knowledge, like you're swimming and like birds build nest. The birds know how to build nest, right? So all those things are already there, right? So whatever swimming, cycling, all those things, they all come under manomaya kosha because they're all into that layer. Buddhimaya kosha or Vijnanamaya kosha is what is special in human beings, which is not there in animals, which is the value system, right? Your idea of what is right, what is wrong, why should I be honest, kind, and why should I be kind, discipline, right? Like you might say, today is Ekadasi, so I am fasting, or I'm following intermittent fasting. So this is my feeding window, this is my fasting window. That is all comes under, all discipline comes under Buddhimaya kosha. Because animals, the moment you give food, keep food, if they are hungry, they will eat. Whereas human beings, like we follow certain discipline, right? When to wake up, when to go to sleep, right? So all those things we follow, that is discipline. And patriotism, political affiliations, religious beliefs, basically the entire ideology. So they are all comes under Buddhimaya kosha, the intellectual sheath. And if you look at it, our brain has got three parts: the reptilian brain, the limbic system, and the neocortex. So pranamaya kosha is predominantly functioning of the reptilian brain. Manomaya kosha is predominantly the function of the limbic, and buddhimaya kosha is predominantly the function of the neocortex. And looking at evolution also, this is how the brain has evolved. So all those things match. You can have direct one-to-one correlation between those here. And Anandamaya Kosha, the blissful sheath, that's basically the storage of karma phala, tendencies, beliefs, your worldview, like, so all those things, your idea of yourself, your idea of the world. So these are all in the Anandamaya Kosha. So when you go to deep sleep, your Buddhimaya Kosha and Manomaya Kosha become dormant, and whatever is needed to run them are stored here. And when the mind wakes up, when you wake up, then they are loaded from here back into the manomaya kosha and buddhimaya kosha, and then they start operating. And of course, your pranamaya kosha continues to work to keep the body alive. So this is how it works. And there are alternative terminologies, like annamaya kosha is also called sthula sharira. These three put together is called sukshma sharira, and anandamaya kosha is called karna sharira. Okay. So this is the jiva tattva. This is the Panchakosha, and the same thing, like if you take Mandukya Karika, the first chapter of Mandukya, that basically talks about these three bodies, right? Your Sthula Sharira, Shukshma Sharira, Karna Sharira, and beyond that is Atman. So this is from Taittiriya Upanishad. Gita also has a few shlokas which map this Panchakosha, right? So you have this one, right? For example, Karta, Karanam, Adhishtanam, Cheshta, Daivam. So that talks about Panchakosha. And in the 15th chapter, it talks about Panchakosha in the universal level, which we will see. And then again in the 9th chapter, 34th shloka, the last shloka in the 9th chapter, we will see that also talks about Panchakosha. That way, like, Panchakosha occurs in multiple places in the Gita also, and in the Upanishads, Katha Upanishad, right? Like the chariot example is there, right? So where Panchakosha is very clearly portrayed. And even in the second chapter of the Gita also, like where what is to be controlled by what, right? So that there also, right? What is that? Indriya. Okay, forgot the shloka. Like paratastu manaha okay. Anyway, so the same shloka is there in the Katha Upanishad also. It's there in the Gita, where also Panchakosha is talked about. So the chariot, the Rathakalpana, is basically about Panchakosha. So like this, lot of places it comes, and so this is one of the standard template. Now, what you need to understand is, I am none of these. Okay, so as an individual, I am the consciousness reflected on the Anandamaya Kosha. So in the Mandukya Karika terminology, it is Prajna, right? So that is the individual, and all the four lower koshas are my instruments. But in reality, I am pure consciousness beyond any semblance of division. I am Akhanda, right? So that is, I am Panchakosha Vilakshanaha. That is what Tattvabodha says, right? So Avastatraya Sakshi, right? Panchakosha Vilakshanaha, right? So I am Shariratraya Atitaha. I am beyond all these. So that is the pure consciousness. That is what is my real nature. So this is the Jiva Tattva according to Gita and Upanishads. And then Ishvara Tattva is, Ishvara is that universal being, right? So he is the supreme being who identifies himself with the entire universe. So just like how each of us identify ourselves with this body, right? And what the limited knowledge which we have, right? The limited likes and dislikes what we have. Similarly, there is one being who, when he says I, he means the entire universe. Now that being is Ishvara, right? So Ishvara is that supreme being who identifies himself with the entire universe. There is nothing outside him. It includes everything, right? So 15th chapter, there's a beautiful shlokas, right? Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Praninam Deham Ashritaha Pranapana Samayukta Pachamyannam Chaturvidam Sarvasya Chaham Hridisannivishto Mattasmritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. They're like Sarvasya Chaham, right? Sarvasya Chaham Hridisannivishto Mattasmritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. He says, like, I reside in the heart of all living beings, and I remember things, I forget things, and I recognize things, right? And then he says, Vedesha Sarvair Ahameva Vedyo Vedanta Krita Veda Videva Chaham, right? So basically he says, I am the one who is sitting in the mind and the buddhi of all living beings, and I am the one who knows, I am the one who teaches, I am the one who is to be known, right? So there actually, if you see, like Gama Vishyacha Bhutani, he starts from the Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Buddhimaya Kosha, and Karna Sharira also, right? Dvavimo Purusho Loke Ksharashchakshare, which that talks about the Samashti Karna Sharira. So basically, at all the 5 kosha levels, the 15th chapter, these shlokas defines Ishvara as the Samashti Panchakosha. The Vyashti Panchakosha we saw. The same thing, Samashti Panchakosha, is what is described in these shlokas. And all living beings are like cells. Like even if you say in our body, there are so many cells in our body, and each cell is actually a living being by its own, right? But then we say I, right? So all the cells are all like parts of this, what we call as I. Similarly, all living beings are part of the Lord, right? So he says, right, Mamaivamsho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. That is what the shloka is, right? So this a small part of myself is what exists in this Jiva Loka as the Jiva. So all beings are kind of part of the Lord. So that is the definition of the supreme being, Ishvara. And he is the consciousness in all beings, right? Ahamatma Gura Kesha Sarva Bhuta Shayastitaha. And he is also the material cause of this universe. Ahamadischa Madhyamcha Bhutanam Antayevacha, right? So he is this entire universe is made of the stuff, the substance, which is Ishvara only. And all the consciousness in all living beings, right, is also Ishvara only, right? Kshetrajnam chapimam viddhi sarva kshetreshu bharata, he says, right? Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtati. So they all point to this idea, right? And then the Lord also has the personal aspect. He is omniscient, omnipotent, and compassionate, right? So the 529 is Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam Nyatva Mam Shanti Mrichati. So he is the Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam. He is the beneficiary of everything that anyone does. Like, so he is the omnipresent one, right? And then Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is the omnipotent. Everything is under his control. And Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam. So he is compassionate, right? He's towards all living beings, he's compassionate. Now, why is he compassionate? Because all living beings are a part of him only, right? So just like how we are compassionate towards our fingers, he is compassionate towards us, towards all living beings. So that is what is described here. And then he manifests through the incarnations and saints, right? We all know 4:7, 4:8, yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata, right? So he says, Sambhavami yuge yuge, I come forth again and again, right? So all the incarnations are also manifestations of the Lord. And the Lord can be worshipped through any name, form, or ritual, right? So 721 is yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktah shraddhaya architum ichchati, right? Tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadamyaham. So he says, like, through whatever way, through whatever name, form, ritual you worship, it all comes to me only, and I respond back through the same name, form that you worship through, right? That's what he says. And he is equally accessible to all living beings, right? Apichet sududuracharo bhajate mam ananyabha sadureva samancha samyak vyavasito hisa kshipram bhavati dharmatma. That is what these shlokas are. So he's accessible to everyone. Doesn't matter what your condition is now, you just accept, understand this idea of Ishvara. He is a supreme being, right? We are all small parts of him, and he is the omniscient, omnipotent, compassionate one. There is nothing in this universe other than him, right? So once you have this idea, then the Lord says, I will take care of everything. So this is what the Ishvara Tattva is. So we saw the Jagat Tattva, the Ishvara Tattva. Like, this is the two important ideas. And basically, as we saw, this is likely in the pictorial form. Ishvara is the Samashti, right? And Jiva is the Vyashti. So we have the Jiva level, you have the individual Stula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, Karana Sharira. And at the Samashti level, at the universal level, all the Stula Shariras put together is the Stula Prapancham. All the Sukshma Shariras put together is the Sukshma Prapancham. All the Karna Shariras put together is the Karna Prapancham. And the consciousness reflected on each of these have technical terms, Vishwa, Tejasa, Prajna, and this said Virat, Hiranyagarbha, Antaryami. So this view from the individual view and at the universal view is Ishvara. And these are all upadhis, these are all adjuncts. And if you don't look at these, then there is no difference between Jiva and Ishvara. So Atman equal to Brahman. So Tattva Bodha puts it in a very nice way, right? It says Avidya Upadhisan Atma Jiva ityuchyate and Maya Upadhisan Ishvara ityuchyate. So there are beautiful sentences in Tattva Bodha to explain how Jiva and Ishvara are different only from the Upadhis and not essentially, right? So you can refer to those. So you can look at this. This is a very important analogy: water, ocean, wave, right? Like, to understand this. So if you have a ocean, the ocean has a lot of waves. Now the ocean is like Ishvara, the whole, the universal being, and each wave is like a Jiva. Okay. Now, as long as you identify yourself as an individual, the Jiva, then Ishvara is the universal entity. But then you can also identify yourself as Atman, which is like the water. Now, if you identify yourself as water, which is pure consciousness, then at that level, there is no difference between Jiva and Ishvara. The very idea is not there because the Upadhi are not there. So the Jiva Ishvara Bheda happens only because of these Upadhis, which are these lower koshas, right? All the Pancha Kosha, this is the Upadhi, Pancha Kosha or Shariratraya, right? It's all the same. And it's only because of the Upadhis that difference is there between Jiva and Ishvara. Without the Upadhis, then there is no difference. Atman and Brahman are the same. So that is, so you should, this is a very good way of understanding, right? Water, ocean, wave, Atma, Ishvara, Jiva, and then pure consciousness, supreme being, and individual self. This kind of is a summary of the entire, the Vedanta, the Vedantic vision. So how do you do? Again, this is a shloka I told you, like manmana bhava mat bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishisi yuktva atmanam matparayanaha. This talks about the Panchakosha, and it says offer all of them to Ishvara, saying that, okay, he is the supreme being and everything is offered to him. So manmana bhava. So here mana means mind, right? The manomaya kosha. Mat bhakto, actually this bhava you have to add everywhere, right? So manmana bhava, mat bhakto bhava, right? So become my devotee. So basically like your belief, your understanding, ideology. So basically the buddhimaya kosha you offer to the Lord. Mad yaji. So you offer all actions to the Lord. The pranamaya kosha is here. And mam namashkuru. So the annamaya kosha is mentioned here. So you bow down to the Lord, and through annamaya kosha you offer to the Lord. And then mat parayanaha means have me as the goal. So that is the samashti, that is the karna sharira, right? Like the anandamaya kosha, offer that also to the Lord. Like have me as the goal, right? That is the anandamaya kosha. If you do by offering all these things, mameva mame vaishyasi, you will reach me yuktvaiva atmanam. So you will merge into me, right? So this is the how it Gita says how you offer all the panchakoshas to the Lord, and then you identify yourself as pure consciousness. So I will how to do that. Again, these are two beautiful shlokas. This is the core of the entire Gita, right? Yetu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasi matparaha. That is a karma yoga. Ananyaneva yogena mam dhyayanta upasati. That is Dhyāna Yoga. So you do all actions as offering to the Lord, and you meditate upon the Lord. And if you do that, what you will attain is this very important word, mayi aveshita chetasam. So a mind which is soaked in the Lord, right? Mayi aveshita chetasam. If you get, then the Lord says, I will take care of the rest, right? I will give you the knowledge and I will save you from the samsara. Samsara is shatripu. Always remember, samsara means kāma, krodha, lobha, moha, matha, mātsarya. That is samsara, right? So the Lord will save from that. We will not be affected by them. And again, this is another beautiful template Gita gives how you go step by step towards the goal, right? So this is again in 17th chapter, 16th shloka. So he says, right, there are 3 stages, right? So artho artharthi jignasu jnani cha bhartashava chaturvida bhajante ma, right? So there are artha is a person who worships the Lord to free himself from problems. Artharthi is who worships the Lord to get something from the Lord. So that is the first stage of spiritual life, where you work in the world, you offer the fruits, and then you go and offer it to the Lord in gratitude. You consider Lord as a karma phaladata, right? So you have this Ishvara prasada buddhi. And when you go further, you get into the jignasu state, where you see that the world itself is a manifestation of Ishvara. So now Ishvara and Jagat, that have merged together. So there are only 2 entities, Jiva and Ishvara. And then you offer your work itself to the Lord, because the Lord is not different from the world. And then now you don't worship the Lord to free yourself from difficulties. You worship the Lord for knowledge, strength to face situations. And then you go to the next stage, which is Jnani state, where this separation between Jiva and Ishvara also merge, and there is only Ishvara, nothing else. Right? So Vasudeva Sarvam Iti, right? That is what the Gita says, right? So Bahunam Janmanam Ante, right? So after a lot of janmas, finally the Jnani comes and he understands Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. And it is very rare, he says, Sudurlabha, it says, right? So he understands that there is nothing other than Ishvara alone. And for him, just the world, he just watches, as I told you, right? This entire I am consciousness, this entire world is a movie which the Lord projects into my consciousness. So he just watches the movie in a relaxed way without any problem. Complete surrender. So this is the final stage. So this is the spiritual journey. And it is okay wherever you are, right? So we all start here. And even after reaching here, occasionally you might slide down here and again go here. So just that predominantly a jnani would, be in this mode of action, but not sometimes here and sometimes here. So as a person progresses spiritually, right, more and more scope is expanded. That's what happens. So the last slide. So this is a summary of the whole thing, which in the words of Swami Ranganathananji, he was president of Ramakrishna Mutt some time back. So he summarizes it as like, are you growing spiritually? How do you know you are growing spiritually? He says, can you love others? Can you feel oneness with others? Have you peace within yourself? And do you radiate it around you? So this is the sign of spiritual life, right? So you have peace within yourself and you radiate it. You feel oneness with others and you love others. And how do you reach there? That is called spiritual growth, which is stimulated by meditation inwardly and by work done in a spirit of service outwardly. So meditation inwardly and spirit of service outwardly. It's exactly what we saw 12th chapter 6th shloka, right? Yetu sarvani karmani mayi sanyasya matparaha ananyeneva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. So work and meditation. These are the two things which Gita says. And that's what Ranganathanji has beautifully summed up here. Right? Fine. So I think I'll stop here. And so if you have any questions, maybe I can take for some time.
Thank you, Gokulmuthu, for a very wonderful, very systematically presented on such an important topic. Can you just stop your presentation?
Yeah, sure. And by the way, this is my blog. You can note it down and you can see it later. Thank you.
Practicalphilosophy.in.
Yes.
So we have received one question. Viewers, if you have any question, we have just 5 minutes. So if you can put it in Q&A box, we'll quickly take up 2-3 questions. The one question we have received is spiritual progress a function of time and any time scale can be fixed? Is it possible to achieve in one's lifetime itself? How it will change from a one person to that of a Sadguru? Does this time also depend on karma phala of the previous births?
Yes. Yes, sir. So, true, no two people are alike. It is unique to each person. But however, it is possible for everyone to become a Jivanmukta in this life itself. Like, as I told you, you have this reptilian brain, limbic system, neocortex. We have all the biological equipment to attain Jivanmukti. Animals don't have neocortex well developed. They might not, right? But every human being has a very well developed brain, and we have all the equipment to become a Jivanmukta. There is absolutely no doubt about it. It is just a matter of putting in the right effort in the right direction. Now, where do you start? You start with Karma Yoga. And where do you start in Karma Yoga? You start with dana, donation. Let people start donating money. Money is the easiest to donate. Time is very difficult to donate. So you can only donate two things, either money or time. Now, time is difficult to donate, but eventually you will have to donate it. But then you start with money at least. So I would just suggest whatever is your financial level, doesn't matter, 10% you donate to whichever charity you like, no problem. And that will start working. Your punya will go up. Then once your punya reaches a certain level, a guru will come. Then he will teach you. Everything will start moving. So for anyone, if you want to start spiritual life, start with donation.
Thank you. That is a very practical suggestion. I think even if not 10%, maybe I think 5% definitely
Yes.
people can afford. We have
And literally, even if you are not able to give money, you do 108 namajapa, offer it to the Lord saying this is for the welfare of the world. At least that donation you can do. But you have to do some donation. That is the starting of Karma Yoga. Okay.
We have another question. It was mentioned that karma will bring purity of mind, but when one progresses in spiritual life, the significance of karma may drop totally. Is that correct?
Yeah. So see, karma is a core thing, right? So first thing is, if you look at from the template of gunas, to move from tamas to rajas, you have to do kamya karma. Okay, so you go for, that is where all the entire karma kanda is for, right? So you do kamya karma, so you move from tamas to rajas. Once you have reached rajas, to move from rajas to sattva, you do nishkama karma, where you do karma and you do it as karma yoga. Nishkama karma is called karma yoga, and that will help you to go from rajas to sattva. So that phase you have to do karma. That is the only way. Then after that, once you have reached sattva, then you proceed further from sattva to gunatita when you want to go. That is where karma will drop by itself. You don't need to drop it. So there is a beautiful shloka, 6th chapter, I think 3rd shloka, right? Aru rukshor muner yogam karma karana muchyate, yoga rudasya tasyaiva shamah karana muchyate. So to reach that state of yoga roda, you have to do karma. Once you reach yoga roda, then shama is the way, right? So the Gita says very clearly, and karma will drop by itself. You don't need to do it voluntarily. That will happen automatically. And Sri Ramakrishna gives a very nice example for that. If you have a wound, like there will be a crust which forms on the wound. When the wound has healed, that crust will automatically fall off. If you forcibly remove that crust, then the wound will not heal. So he says karma is like that crust. So when the wound is healed, karma will drop. So the general advice is do karma yoga. Right? That is the advice.
Thank you, Gokulmuthu. One final quick question, just as a clarification to your earlier advice. The question is it necessary to donate to charity? Is it not okay where you see needy all around you and nearby you? Why not donate to the needy around you itself than to some charity? I think they understood it as a charity to an organization.
Not necessarily to an organization. Like pay for the school fees of your servant maids, right? Like everyone who has got servant maids should cover the school fees, educational expenses of the servant maids, right? That itself is a charity. And calamity happens everywhere to everyone. So whenever they need any help, you give. So it doesn't matter to whom you give. You have to give. That is all that is needed.
So this reminds me, one advice I have heard Sringeri Shankaracharya giving at many lectures, defining dharma in a single sentence as paropakara dharma, parapidana dharma. So helping others basically is what you also mentioned.
Yes. So that is from a shloka which says, Ashtadasheshu Puraneshu Vyasasya Vachanam Dvayam Paropakaraya Dharmasya Parapitanam Adharma. Like, so basically, like exact shloka, I don't remember the second line, but this is what it says. So,
Yeah. Thank you again. It was a really wonderful session. Very important session, I would say, for any seeker to have this kind of a map in the mind that where I stand and where is the goal to orient the life towards that goal. So this was very helpful. Thank you very much, Gokulmuthu
thank
ji,
you.
and hope to see you more on our platform in the
Yeah.
future also. Viewers, with this we conclude
We'll chant
today's.
Shanti and end like
Yes,
right.
we'll chant Shanti Mantra and conclude the session. Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for updates about our upcoming sessions. Please go ahead, Gokulmuthu ji. You can chant it.
Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.